What's going on, guys? Briar Rabbit here. Today I wanted to play around with the PC version of Destiny 2 on some lower end hardware. Now, my main rig is relatively high end. It's an i7-6700K that's overclocked, as well as a GTX 1080, also overclocked, and it runs Destiny 2 very, very well. I'm very happy with the experience that I'm receiving. However, I wanted to test out some lower end hardware, some cheaper hardware, if you will, to see what the experience is like on the PC version of Destiny 2. So I've got a different computer to do this. It's a Ryzen 5 1600. It's overclocked to 3.7 gigahertz, and the memory is also overclocked to 2800 megahertz. I've also got an AMD RX 480 4GB model, which is a GPU that's a couple of years old. It's basically comparable to a newer RX 580, and I've also got a GTX 1030 2GB model. And the goal here today is to actually run the first level of Destiny 2 on all of this hardware and kind of get a feel for the overall experience and what the frame rates are going to be like, how usable this hardware is with Destiny 2. I do want to note that when I'm talking about frame rates, I am mostly talking about the frame rate counter that's built into Destiny 2. Now, in the Destiny 2 beta, this frame rate counter was bugged. It was not accurate to the actual frame rate being displayed by the game. I don't know if this has been fixed for the full release of Destiny 2 or not, but because Destiny 2 does not allow for overlays over the game, I don't have a whole lot of options here. So I'm going to trust in it for now, and I'm going to talk mostly about the feel of the game. So let's get started with the RX 480. Now, this card, the RX 480, is actually no longer available. It's been replaced by AMD by the RX 580, and there was a small performance gain to be had by upgrading to the 580. But it's fairly small, and I think for the purposes of this testing, the RX 480 is a good stand-in. Now, the RX 580 is available today for about $260. So if you're looking for a new memory card, you can go out and buy that today for $260. Now, with the RX 480, I found that Destiny 2 was very playable at 60 frames per second with the highest graphics settings in place. There were some moments where the frame rate dropped just below 60 frames per second, but I'm talking about 57, 58 frames per second at the highest graphical setting. So if you were to drop those down to high instead of highest, you'll find that you just rarely ever drop behind 60 frames per second. It was a great experience, and when you compare it to the 30 frames per second you're getting from all of the consoles, it was a much preferable experience as well. Now, the next graphics card I checked out was a GTX 1030. This is an Asus card that retails for about $80 online, and I'm going to say it was not as good of an experience. I was really trying to target 60 frames per second with this one, but I had to make some real compromises to get this to happen. First of all, I set all of the graphics settings to low as I could get them. Still was not able to hit 60 frames per second, not consistently. So then I had to really start looking for other options, and the next option was to reduce the render setting for Destiny 2. Destiny 2 allows you to render the game lower than your display quality. So if your display quality is set to 1080, it'll still display a 1080 image for playing on a 1080p monitor or for recording, but it actually renders the game at much lower than that. And to hit 60 frames per second somewhat consistently, I had to render the game at about 65% of 1080p. And the results are, well, beauty is in the eye of the beholder here. If you really want to play Destiny 2 at an approximate 60 frames per second, the GTX 1030 can get you there, but you're going to have to make some real sacrifices as far as the displayed resolution go, or the rendered resolution goes. And you can definitely see the difference. There's no doubt about it. However, it is a playable experience. I actually found it somewhat enjoyable, although, you know, I'm definitely going to go back to playing on higher-end hardware, no doubt about it. Would I choose this over playing Destiny 2 on a console at 30 frames per second? I don't know. I think that's really going to be a personal choice. but it is playable for sure on a GTX 1030. So that's going to do it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Hit that like button if you like the video. Hit subscribe if you're new to the channel. And let me know down in the comments below what hardware you're running Destiny 2 on and how it looks. Thanks, guys. I'll see you next time.